routes. Some drivers are doing it, some drivers aren't doing it, but the bottom line is that the gate is indeed open, and people do come over to that. There's a recreation center over there, and it's used when the campus is not open, and those people would probably most likely come here and wait for a bus. Anyway, be it as it may, I don't know. What are we supposed to do? You know, now most drivers are like me, and they're going to come in here and they're going to make sure. This is a good point to make too, because you know, talking about drivers that don't care, like the supposed light rail operator who just didn't give a shit. Maybe he didn't give a shit. We don't know. We'll wait for the union. We'll wait for the union report. But most of the drivers would be like me. We would make the extra effort to come out here and make sure there's nobody left standing. It would be a rogue operator, like Fred said, that would do that kind of thing. Because most of us here absolutely care about the people, and we want to do the right thing. So we're not going to just leave people or not respond to emergency calls. We don't know. We're going to wait for the final judgment on that one until we hear from our union. So anyway, it's kind of a strange ending to an interesting last 9 months or a year. I don't even know how long I've been on it, because when you work here, you never really know how much time goes by. Everything gets flat. You know, I've been here 13 years. It feels like I just got here, and in some ways, it feels like I was always here. I've never been anywhere but here. So time itself flattens out when you have a job like this, because it's repetitive. You know, you almost don't know what day it is half the time. Anyway, I'm going to miss this 67 route, because this is where I had the Joseph Rose ride-along, and became somewhat of a mythical figure out here as a result of that one, I guess. But now I'm looking forward to a change, because change is good, you know. Everybody needs to make change once in a while. So adios to PCC, and probably for at least 3 months. I'll come back here if the opportunity presents itself to me in the next sign up, because I do like this route. It's my second favorite route after the 89. The 89 is my favorite route. And this is my second favorite route. My third favorite route is actually the 88, 48. I like the 88. A lot of drivers don't. They don't like the routes with these hazardous roads, you know. Springville's hazardous, 198's hazardous, Allen Boulevard's tight. But you get used to them. You get used to all of those road conditions after a while. They're scary at first, but do it a bunch of times and it becomes second nature. Okay. End of report. Okay, we're done. It's full. The sign-up's finished. And right at the end of it was so quiet today, nobody was around. None of my regulars. I was glad about that, actually, because I hate the goodbye thing. I know these people so well. I didn't want to go through that goodbye thing, and luckily I got spared that. Except right at the end, one of my regulars I enjoy, a woman from India who works at one of the Indian restaurants over there at the Bethany Village, got on, and we had a nice little talk. And right at the end, she got off. She goes, "Well, I'm gonna miss you, and thank you." And you know, I really felt how much she meant that she was gonna actually really would miss me, and really, it really touches you. You know, I get almost choked up when I realize I provided people with a positive experience. You know, I really like to know people. I'm very into meeting people when I'm driving these buses. I want to know people. I want to know who they are and what they experience. And people respond to that. And that's one of the beauties of this job. Of course, the way things are going with the elimination of the routes like the 67, you know, one of the few buses left that where you can actually provide a personalized service. The way the place is going, there's going to be an institutional organization where there's going to be no personalized services, like this Max incident. The Max is completely impersonal, and I think the institutionalization of impersonalization leads to incidents like what occurred on the Max. You know, although the driver may have done it or not done it, we don't know what led up to this event. We don't know the kind of concerns or the kind of pressures that person was under. We do know that 9 out of 10 calls are nuisance calls. And, you know, maybe dealing with a whole day of nuisance calls, you can't really expect a valid call, and now you're on camera and the media is all over you, and here you go, you're fired, and you're an example now. And that's the thing about this job, is that, man, anything can happen and you can end up in the newspaper. Okay, any of us could have something happen where you're going to end up in the news. You're going to be the target next. The fact of the matter is, most of us do strive to do a good job here. The media thinks we're all cranks and rednecks, or I don't know, leaving wheelchairs behind, etc. And then nothing could be further from the truth. It's completely the opposite experience. Of course, they take the isolated negative issues and they're all over the newspapers. They don't take the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of issues where we're doing something beyond what we need to do every day. Hundreds of these incidents, I'm sure, that nobody ever looks at and nobody ever hears about, but the media seizes on these isolated incidents, and boom, you know, here's what you have from TriMet bus drivers or rail operators. And nothing could be further from the truth. And the people on the blogs that comment about TriMet, if they don't ride TriMet at all, they don't have a right to comment on TriMet. If you're not riding TriMet, then how do you think you can comment on it? You can't, because you don't know anything about it unless you ride it. You know, you hear people say Max is irrelevant. Well, that's ridiculous. TriMet is irrelevant. You obviously don't realize how many millions of people are riding this system. People ride this system. There's no other way for some people to get around. It's not irrelevant. I live in Northwest Portland, and it's like the most incredible service that you could have. From where I live, I have incredibly good service. I mean, TriMet's like the rest of the world. You know, it depends on where you are in position to the rest of the world. And in my case, where I live in Northwest Portland, I would never need to have a car because I would have access to all kinds of service. I have a streetcar, I have Max, I have buses, all within walking distance. So from that point of view, TriMet is an excellent option. Now, if you live in Beaverton or the outlying areas, TriMet's not so hot. So it's just like everything else. It depends on who you are. And most of us here do a good job. Doesn't get noticed by the media. The bad parts get noticed. And I understand the frustration with a lot of the right-wingers and the waste and bureaucracy here. You know, there is a lot of waste here. What do you want me to say? There's not a lot of waste. There's a lot of waste. Even that guy, John Charles, who I just can't stand because of the way he attacked the workers here, does make good points occasionally. I'm not going to say that he doesn't. He does make good points occasionally. Not everything these conservatives say is wrong. Even Jim Carlock, you know, who sounds like a complete nut on some of his posts, does make sense. If you read his stuff, you'll see that not everything that he says is wrong. So they do have some valid issues about. I'm not going to support a lot of the things that they say because a lot of them are wrong, but some of them are right. But overall, this system here, this TriMet system, is an excellent system. It does a lot of good for people. The media doesn't see it, but it's there. I just hate to see the institutionalization of the agency, the moving away from the bus service into that cold-hearted, no interpersonal communication rail service. And for the first time this year, there is ice. It's iced up. My truck is iced up.